Welcome to Liberty Park Music. I'm Michelle Huang, your piano instructor. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at two pieces by the Russian composer Dmitri Kabalevsky. Both pieces have a combination of the different five-finger patterns that we talked about, moving from position to position up and down the keyboard. Needless to say, these will be a little bit more difficult than the exercises in short pieces that we have done so far, which only require us to be in one position, playing only one five-finger pattern. Let's take a look at the first piece. This is Kabalevsky's A Little Joke. Just a few observations to start. Both hands are in treble clefs. There is a repetition of rhythmic pattern every two measures. In measure 9 through 14, only the pattern from measure 1 is repeated. Now let's take a look at the notes. Both hands are playing some kind of five-finger pattern. You can figure this out by playing just the first few measures on both hands to determine the five-finger pattern. Let's start with the right hand. So the right hand is clearly playing a C five-finger pattern. The left hand. The left hand is playing a E five-finger pattern, with lower 2 and 3, meaning that F and G, the second and third note of E five-finger pattern, they're typically sharp in E major. Here they're played as natural F and G. So we simply call this a E five-finger pattern. So as you can see here, now we have one hand playing in one five-finger pattern and one hand playing in another five-finger pattern. The hands are not playing exactly one octave apart. Instead, the hands are closer to each other, a sixth apart. Before we go on and playing hands together, let's talk about the articulations and the movements that go with it. Since the articulation and rhythmic patterns repeat every two measures, let's just look at the first two measures. We have what we call a two-note slur at the beginning of the piece. How a two-note slur is played is this. The first note is played with a down motion, connecting to the second note with a gentle release on the second note. Release your wrist with a slight motion to the right. This leads really nicely into the third and fourth notes, which are marked staccatos. These staccatos are light and bouncy, so remember to bounce from your wrist. Remember, the second note of the two-note slur is only a gentle release or taper off. Be careful not to play it like a staccato in anticipation of the third and fourth notes. You can apply this motion through the piece since the pattern repeats. For this piece, let's try hands together right from the start. We will play just the first two lines of this piece. Starting from the top, notice your hands are playing a sixth apart, note by note. Your hands are going in the same direction and by the same intervals. So the first note goes up by a third on both hands. Goes up another third. Goes down a second, etc. Incorporate the articulations we just talked about as well. Down motion into the first note with a gentle release on the second note for the two-note slur. Followed by staccatos bouncing from the wrist. Play the first two measures a few times hands together to get used to this motion. Let's play the first two lines hands together. Let's look at the third and fourth lines. As we talked about before, each measure here repeats the same rhythmic pattern as measure 1. Both hands, as you can see here, move down a whole step every other measure. Let's play line 3 and 4 together. Notice that we ended in different five-finger patterns from what we started. This is exactly a fourth down from the beginning five-finger pattern. Practice a little joke as part of your homework. Review the movement of each articulation and get comfortable playing two different five-finger patterns simultaneously, as well as moving from one five-finger pattern to another and back up and down the keyboard. This next piece is also by Kabalevsky, called Funny Incident. Looking at the piece as a whole, you can see that the first line and the third line are exactly the same. This is a classic ternary form, or ABA. This simply means that the piece is divided into three sections. The third section is a repeat of the first section. Knowing the form of the piece makes learning the piece less intimidating, since we really only need to learn 2 lines instead of 3. For the purpose of learning the form, we will call the first line A section, second line B section, and the third line repeat of A section. An important skill in learning music is to recognize repetition. Repetition of notes, repetition of patterns. Like we just did, we saw that the third line is an exact repeat of the first line. Here, looking at the A section, take a moment and see if you can spot any repetitions of notes and patterns. It seems that the same rhythmic pattern repeats every measure. A quarter note followed by 2 eighth notes, followed by another quarter note. The left hand and right hand play exactly an octave and follows the left hand plays, then right hand echoes what the left hand just played, but an octave higher. This pattern repeats every 2 measures. The first 2 measures are in G 5-finger position. The next 4 measures then move up to A 5-finger position with the lower third. The last 2 measures move back to G 5-finger position. Moving back and forth between these 2 positions can be confusing, but don't be intimidated by this. Try this exercise. Play G 5-finger pattern, then move up to A 5-finger pattern with the lower third and go back and forth. I also find if you focus more on the root of the 5-finger pattern, so your left hand pinky and right hand thumb, as you change from one position to another, the rest of the fingers follow. This makes changing position much easier. Let's play the A section together. B section gets a little bit more complicated. The rhythmic pattern changes to the 4 eighth notes followed by a quarter note. But the hands are still playing an octave apart. Still left hand first, then the right hand. Now we need to change position every 2 measures. Spend a few minutes and see if you can figure out each 5-finger position. So measure 1 and 2 is in the A position we were just in, with the lower third. Measure 3 and 4 moves up a whole step up to B position, with lower 2 and 3. Measure 5 and 6 moves up to C position with a raised 4. Measure 7 and 8 moves up 1 more to D position. So as you can see, we simply move up 1 position every 2 measures. A, B, C, D. The only other thing that's altered is the direction of each 5-finger pattern, as you can see indicated by the arrows on the score. What seemed to be a somewhat complicated passage is really just a series of 5-finger patterns going up and down. You can practice playing hands together, moving from one position to another, all going up. Then hands together follow the indicated direction of the 5-finger pattern. Then hands separately as written on the score with the indicated articulations. As we talked about, A section repeats. So at the end of the B section, move from D position down a fifth to the original G position. And then repeat the A section for the third line. Let's play the whole piece together. As you continue to practice this piece, adding dynamics and articulations as indicated in the score as well. In our lesson today, we have looked into two pieces by Kabalevsky. These two pieces will not only help us review our 5-finger patterns, but also help us getting comfortable moving from position to position, exploring the range of the keyboard. We also learn about musical form and how recognizing repeated patterns will help us learn music more efficiently and easily. Continue to practice these pieces as your homework. See you next time.